Alright, so a lot of players have noticed some very alarming behavior in the Royale High community that has mainly surfaced now, but has been a thing for at least 3 years, or it's been documented for the past 3 years. And this is incredibly concerning, especially since it involves bad actors that may or may not be trying to perpetuate certain ideas and thoughts to children. So obviously this is a very serious issue, and we're going to talk about it. And the issue is so serious that the owner of the Royale High subreddit, which I do not believe they are directly affiliated with Royale High in any way, however, they had to make an actual mega thread to discuss this issue because it's been such a long time concern of the Royale High community, and more so recently it seems like there's been some sort of influx of players basically dressing inappropriately and trying to encourage minors to do the same. And so we have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get straight into it. Now before I get started, I do have to clarify these comments are posted publicly, so there is no expectation of privacy. Anything I use in my video is considered fair use because I'm using it for commentary and journalistic purposes. However, I do go ahead and censor people's usernames because I don't want them getting harassed for having an opinion. However, with this specific thread right here, with just this first message, I am keeping the owner's name there because they're the owner of the thread, and so obviously people are going to know that they made this. But regardless, let's get into it. So basically, from what I can find, this has been a documented issue in the Royale High community for at least the past 3 years, and there's actually an old mega thread from 3 years ago regarding this issue. However, with new items and new toggles and stuff like that, obviously players are always trying, or I wouldn't say players, but more so bad actors, are trying to find ways to basically manipulate the Royale High clothing system into doing gross things or depicting gross things. And so because of that, they've made a new mega thread with some of the new inappropriate outfits, and basically just people kind of talking about it, because I guess it was kind of clogging up the general Reddit thread because so many people were discussing it. Now this reads, we've noticed a huge influx of posts recently discussing outfits, specifically whether or not something is appropriate to wear in Royale High. We have an old mega thread on this topic though, it's been 3 years now, wow. That said, I do urge people to look at the comments there, just to see what the discussion was like 3 years ago. The purpose of this post is to redirect the conversation here, though we will still allow some of the posts through so people can post what they're talking about, comments will just be locked. So obviously this becomes such a big thing that they had to kind of moderate it because it was like gaining a lot of traction, which I understand, I think that's totally fair. Now, in this specific post, we had this comment that was made by this user where they gave 2 actually really good examples, which I will be showing to you guys because they're not necessarily like super inappropriate. However, they shouldn't be in a kid's game. And basically they write, we all notice a huge amount of players who keep dressing up inappropriately these days, using lingerie and bikinis as daily outfits. I personally think using a bikini outfit is okay because it's the beach outfit. I don't see anything wrong with that, just when you are in a beach swimsuit context. But please, Royale High devs, have to do something with those players who are flipping lingerie in a 5+ game. I'll leave some examples. And they left 2 examples, which I'll show you in a second here. And they go on to say, another topic I want to talk about is the fact that almost every of these outfits you can see are in the trading hub. I can't explain the amount of players using these kinds of clothes I've seen in there. Thanks for reading. And they provided 2 honestly concerning examples. The first one is this one, which I would say is not the worst one I've seen personally. The main issue that a lot of players have taken with this outfit though is the bottoms, which are obviously using a sort of textured pattern to make it look like lace underwear, which personally, in a kid's game, there is no need to be doing that. And I'm gonna get into a bit about like the predatory nature of these kind of outfits a little bit later here. And I'm not gonna say any of these people are inherently trying to be disgusting or gross or like perpetuate certain notions and stuff like that. However, there is a much bigger issue that we do have to discuss, which I will get into in a second here. But this specific outfit, the main issue was the bottoms and how it looks like their underwear, which obviously I would expect this person understands what they're doing, especially when they have this sort of like thigh garter thing, like with like the beads. I would err on the side they know what they're doing. This is another one that they included in this, which I have to say is really creepy, primarily because I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to get censored on YouTube, but if you can see what's on the face here, this is meant to replicate a muzzle, to my understanding, which is something that has to do with a very specific niche of users, I would say, that participate in usually some deplorable kind of activities, and this is certainly looking like a muzzle to me. On top of that, they also have very small underwear and what looks like no top, which is of course concerning, especially since this is in the trading hub and it's just inappropriate. Like, this doesn't have to be there. Now besides that, they did talk about how there's just been an amount of players in the trading hub that are using these outfits, and I would err on the side that that's probably because that's where a lot of these people AFK. And a side note, which I'm not accusing either of these users of participating in this or wanting to do this kind of stuff. However, something that people, which I'll word as people who are looking for younger people, who are not supposed to be looking for younger people, who are dangerous, something that will sometimes make them happy or will make them feel like they're doing something evil without directly doing something evil, is when they will basically share this kind of content with people who are too young to be seeing this kind of content. And it's something that certain really disgusting people like doing, and I think it's really concerning. And I'm not necessarily saying either of these people is doing that, because I don't know, I wasn't there. But what I am saying is that a lot of, with the influx of these kind of outfits, I would err on the side that this is like bad actors trying to basically introduce children to content that is not appropriate for their age group. And that's something that these people get joy out of. Like, they like doing this kind of stuff, and it's messed up and it's really disgusting. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to blame Royale High for this kind of behavior, because at the end of the day, it's meant to be like fun princess dress-up clothing. But I know Roblox, at least, like if you don't put on a clothing top or something like that, there is like a generic undergarment that Roblox will apply to your avatar that is also applied if your outfit gets wiped because you're wearing something inappropriate. And I would hope that maybe eventually Royale High could make a sort of undergarment system that could work with some clothing items so that players can't do this kind of thing, or at least, you know, take out some of the toggles or maybe patterns that are being abused in this way. But regardless, I certainly think this kind of behavior is really disgusting. And I've seen a lot of people validating this because, oh, well, there's like adults in the game, so, you know, they're allowed to express themselves, which sure, but you wouldn't walk into a preschool where there's little kids wearing clothing like this. And that's the difference here, is people think because it's online it's not as impactful, but for a child that is still developing and they maybe don't know about this kind of stuff, or they don't, you know, understand what that thing on their face means, and then they wear it, like that is them accidentally participating in this weird subculture that has to do with stuff that is way too old for their age. And I'm trying to be very careful the way that I'm saying this stuff, just because I don't want this video to be like censored by YouTube. But it's just really inappropriate. It's people trying to perpetuate inappropriate behavior and outfits onto children. And it doesn't matter if you're an adult or your friends are adults, you should not be wearing these kind of outfits in front of children who are just trying to play a princess dress-up game. It is weird, and you're incredibly weird if you do that. Go play an 18+ like VR world game if you want to do this kind of behavior or participate in this kind of, you know, subculture. Because I'm not blaming anybody for the subcultures that they're in, but don't be doing this in a kid's game. It's weird, it's messed up, and in my opinion, you're gross if you do this. You're weird. It's just disgusting. Why would you want to wear this kind of outfit and show it to a child? If you're doing that kind of stuff, I think you're gross. Like, what reason do you have to do that? It's just, that's never crossed my mind to do something like that. This person writes, I'm usually someone who doesn't care about most outfits, but if people really wanted to make these types of outfits in Royale High, I mean, there are plenty of other games where they can do it, like GTA 5 and other Sims 4 modded. Shouldn't they just do it in a private server or something where kids won't get in? That would be my solution. But there's not really a way to stop people doing this that I fear. Most people doing that are probably teenagers, but really rebellious, who don't care at all, which I'm sure there's some people who are wearing inappropriate outfits who are probably children, which that's one thing. But I think another thing is, at least this one with like the muzzle sort of thing, which again, I'm not talking necessarily to this person specifically, but to people who are very obviously wearing really revealing outfits and outfits hinting at certain niches or subcultures, when they are doing so in a public area. And I think part of it being that they're going in the trading hub, like Royale High obviously has several different mini maps and things like that in different areas. But the area where you will typically find the most people in is typically the front area fountain or the trading hub, and people tend to spend a lot of time in the trading hub when they're trying to trade. And in my opinion, I feel like it is a conscious decision to go somewhere where you know children will be, not to mention you're in a kid's game, but to go into a specific area where you know children will be waiting and there'll be a ton of children there, to go there and wear this inappropriate outfit and to flaunt it to them. I think that's weird, it's messed up. If you want to dress like this, whatever, don't do it in front of kids. The fact that you're doing it in front of kids makes you look disgusting and it's gross. I think it's really weird. If you can't tell, obviously this is upsetting me because I just think like this is such abhorrent behavior. This person writes, Royale High fans underestimate the number of adults who play the game. I found out a lot of inappropriate outfits aren't from teens, but from adults, which makes it worse. Yes, that's what I'm saying. There's certain adults who get joy, is what I'll say, out of basically presenting this kind of content to minors, which is incredibly messed up and is very dangerous and predatory behavior. This person writes, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if 90% of the player base are adults. The minimum age to play is 5. You should dress accordingly. You can't prove without a shadow of a doubt that not a single person around you isn't a minor in public servers, let alone none would ever join, which is 100. This person is speaking facts. It doesn't matter how many adults are in a game. If a game is rated for children, there should be no ability for players to dress like this and for players to be sharing this kind of content to children. And you may think, oh, well, it's just a clothing item. But the truth is, items like that one item that person turned into like a sort of muzzle thing, like that is something that obviously Royale High didn't intend to be made, but somehow somebody was using items, whether it be UGC items or Royale High items, to basically make this like item that doesn't exist in the game. And that's really concerning. And unfortunately, I don't know how much control Royale High has over this. And I don't know if it's even something that they can really fix. And I don't think that there's necessarily a way other than like the generic undergarments that they can maybe add, how they could stop players from doing this. But there has to be at least some sort of maybe a report feature in some sort of like system where you could send them a picture of somebody wearing something inappropriately and then they're permanently banned or something like that. Like specifically the one with that person with the muzzle, like they should be permanently banned in my opinion. I don't think they should be allowed on Royale High. I think what they were was incredibly inappropriate. And in my opinion, they knew what they were doing. And, you know, if there could be some sort of a system where maybe Royale High can't prevent it, but they can help stop it, I think that would be, you know, a very good solution to this problem. And I hope they may implement something where you could submit photos and they'll take this seriously, because obviously this is incredibly concerning. And to me, in my opinion, poses a risk to the youth that play this game. Now, aside from that, this person wrote, I noticed on Pinterest lately there's been a ton of Playboy bunny outfits circulating. Like, you can do it, but should you? Kids are very impressionable, and what if they make these outfits too? And that's the other thing, which I'm not trying to be weird, but when I did the Easter event a couple years ago, I remember there was like this bunny mask that had like this lace trim or something on it, and it looked like the Ariana Grande bunny mask. And the amount of people I saw using that item to basically just make inappropriate outfits that were kind of Playboy bunny looking and stuff like that. But if you guys don't know, it's just kind of like an inappropriate kind of theme. It's really disgusting and incredibly concerning to me because, again, you know, an adult may make this outfit knowing what that kind of, you know, an outfit would symbolize. Meanwhile, a kid might just think, wow, this is a cool outfit, I'm gonna wear that. And that kid, by accident, ends up perpetuating these sort of internet subcultures that have to do with inappropriate content, and that kid would have no idea. And that in turn can then attract the wrong kind of players to that kid, where that kid is then interacting with adults because they think that kid understands that sort of niche. Like, it's just like a whole web of just disgustingness that shouldn't have happened in the first place. This person writes, I'm so tired of seeing these posts about inappropriate outfits. Like, yes, it's inappropriate, but posting them online is only good to make people do it more. Which I have to say, I could not disagree with this more. I think the reason people are posting about it is to bring awareness to the issue, and that's why I'm posting about it. I'm not posting about this to encourage these people to keep making these weird outfits. That's not what I'm doing. I'm posting this so hopefully there could be some sort of acknowledgement from Royale High, because they may just not know about this, I don't know, but that they can realize this is a widespread issue, and this is impacting a lot of players. It's such a big issue, in fact, the Royale High subreddit, which I do want to clarify, I do not believe is associated with Royale High, has had to make their own Reddit mega thread to talk about this issue, and this issue spans back to up to 3 years ago. Like, this is not something that is new. However, obviously, new items do contribute to the issue with people kind of using items and mixing it together, and I do want to clarify, I do not believe this is inherently Royale High's fault. I don't believe that, and I'm not blaming them for this. However, when you own a game and you are told about an issue and you're told, hey, people are doing this kind of stuff, which is gross, disgusting, it's not your fault, but can you do something about it? It is obviously their obligation and their due diligence to do something about it. And I understand Royale High gets thousands of reports a day, and they're already swamped with tons of support tickets and people and stuff like that, but I hope maybe there could be some sort of a method that can be applied so players can directly report these kinds of outfits, because I'm sure Royale High, with their toy line and stuff like that, and they're working more with, you know, doing kind of kids content and stuff like that, that they would not want the stuff in their game as much as I would. You know, like, they probably dislike this just as much as the rest of us do, but if they aren't aware of the issue, they can't do anything about it. And so I could not disagree with this person more, which no offense to them, but I can understand how maybe some people posting stuff may, you know, I guess make these people feel rewarded in some way because they're being recognized for their weird behavior. I don't know. But regardless, I think the intention with posting this stuff is not to, you know, encourage it, but to bring awareness to it. Because if nobody was talking about this, I wouldn't know it was an issue. And if you saw an inappropriate outfit and nobody else was talking about it, you just think, oh, I guess it's normal. I guess it's okay. I guess it's just like a one-off thing. When in reality, there's like even this other picture of this person obviously trying to make this top look like undergarments. And it's like, they're not even trying to hide it. It's just incredibly concerning to me. And again, I'm not trying to be like super policey and like a buzzkill or anything like that, because I understand some outfits where people wear tops and stuff that's a bit more revealing. I don't have an issue with that. I think whatever, right? But the line is drawn when you are very clearly making innuendos, to subculture niches that have to do with inappropriate content, and that you are then, you know, perpetuating that or trying to advertise that to children either directly or indirectly, and then encouraging kids to dress the same way. Like, that is so messed up. It's so disgusting, and, you know, I think it's certainly not acceptable, and I definitely think Royale High shouldn't, you know, find this acceptable either, which I'm sure they don't. So regardless, I really encourage you guys, if you see these kinds of outfits, take a screenshot. If you can maybe email it to the Royale High support team. I don't know if that's like how they deal with this kind of stuff, or if they deal with it through a different, sort of realm of how they do that. I'm not quite sure. However, that was the only way that I could find to contact them about issues like this. Maybe they'll implement a different system in the future. I don't know. But regardless, this is incredibly concerning, and I'd like to know from you guys down below. Have you seen these kind of outfits? Do you take issue with these outfits? Do you think it's harmless? Let me know your thoughts down below. I've obviously shared my opinion, where I think this is incredibly harmful and really dangerous to children specifically, and encourages a very specific type of user to continue to behave this way, to try and take advantage of kids and put kids in a weird position. And I certainly don't think that's appropriate. But regardless, let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.